Still have people in this class. There's 4 people. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to the second session for the day. We normally take a paper a day, but on Thursdays we choose to do 2 papers. One on the practical session. It's a practical session on how we complete the application forms. We set aside Thursday specifically for this so that our members can have the opportunity of acquainting themselves with how to complete these application forms. Because we know there are quite a number of questions that our participants like to ask all the time when it comes time to complete the questionnaire and then the application forms. I want to believe also that you've all seen copies of these application forms and the various fields they contain. And of course, the inquiries that most people always make when they are given these forms to complete. I had to advise a couple of participants presently in this course to exercise some little patience today when we find the time to go through the documents together, so that they will have some better idea and some more insight into the expectations. As it's a common practice for all things when you are applying for any facility, if it's admission to college or university or anywhere, or you go to the bank and you're applying for a loan, there are always application forms that you will be given to complete. Same also with this one. There's an application form which you have to complete. And it's always very critical that you know what is expected and how you complete those forms. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it easy for our members to know the expectations, to know what's expected to complete in those forms. Right. So having said that, the topic for the day is on the platform right now. It's a practical session on completion of loan application form. So we'll be going through the forms together. Let's start first with the learning objectives. What are the learning objectives for this particular topic? We're to highlight the importance of the AGNIS loan application form. Like I said, it's a critical component of the loan process. Anything you want to apply for, there's always an application form which you'll be expected to complete. The application form will provide the data required for the assessments of the loan, whether you're qualified or you're deserving of that loan. Secondly, to understand the importance of each section of the form, and explain the expected response from each section, and then preparation for the interview. And then finally, the submission process. Each section of the form is quite important, and that's why they are asking those questions. So try to explain the responses expected for each of those sections. And then, of course, the submission process. For submission, you're not just to submit straight to the bank. There are processes which you follow in making that submission. So we'll look at all of that. Right. So loan documentation process. So as we said, the whole essence of this training is how to assess the NASA microfinance AGNIS loan facility. That's the whole essence of this training. And it's one of the conditions that the bank has given for people who want to assess the loan. You have to undergo a training. And the training is to put you through on how you go about applying for the loan. So there is a process flow for assessing the loan, which is as follows. One, to get trained, which is what we are doing now. Getting trained is what we are doing now. We started since Monday, and we're rounding up tomorrow. So it's part of the process that we're going through. The second one is to apply for the loan through your EDI. Cedron is your EDI, so apply for the loan, and then we'll put you through on how to go about processing, applying for the loan. Then thirdly, you're expected to complete the loan application form and submit to your EDI, which will forward it to NASA Microfinance Bank. So it's not just about completing the loan form. You have to pass it, submit it through your EDI, through Cedron. And then it's our responsibility to submit same to NASA Microfinance Bank. The fourth is create your profile on the NASA loan portal. And the address is given us at nmfb.com.ng/SME. So what it says basically is that for those who are not doing their we are not developing their business plan for, we are not consulting for, they have to access the NASA portal and then create their own profile there and then develop their own business plan. But when we are the ones doing it for you, then we have the responsibility to go onto the portal, pay and enter the portal, and then create your profile for you. and then develop the business plan basically for you. So that's the import of this fourth item. So for those who are not doing their business plan for us, for those who intend to develop their business plan themselves, this is the expectation. You're expected to go through and create your own profile on the portal, and then preparatory for developing your own business plan at the end of the training. All right, so let's start by looking at the forms now. There are two main different forms, really. The very first one, which we call the AGNIS Mini Business Planner Questionnaire. For our purpose, we developed this AGNIS Mini Business Plan Questionnaire, from which we are able to generate the data required for the development of the business plan. Okay, this one we specifically developed it. It's not coming from the bank. The second one is coming from the bank, but this was, we developed this ourselves to be able to generate the data we require, generate the data that we require for the creation of development of the business plan. Okay, so this one is specifically for our own purpose. Okay, so we'll go through these forms together now to be able to guide members on how to complete this form. Right, so you'll find on the screen now a copy of the AGNIS Mini Business Plan Questionnaire. Okay, I'm sure you have seen copies of this already. If you haven't, at the end of this training, we'll be sending it to your WhatsApp account, or you can visit any of our offices either here in Utako or in Gwagwalada to collect and then complete the form for your own purpose. But basically, this is what it looks like. So we'll go through it, and so that we'll be able to make some explanations on how to complete the form. First, there are different sections. The forms has different sections. The first one is the individual information section. And the second one is the educational qualification. Then the business information. And third, details of business ownership. And details of staff. Then the marketing section. Sorry, just a minute, please. This. Yes, okay. Yeah. All right, so let's start with the individual section. The individual info asks for, the fields ask for the name of the applicant, surname first, other names, gender. So straightforward. The home address, you give us your home address, where that's a residential address, whatever city you find yourself. Then the closest landmark, you let us know the closest landmark to your home address. Why we do that is that we know the kind of challenge we have in this country with respect to addresses and street names and street numbers and all of that in the country. Most of our cities really don't have street names, and then most of them, the numbering is simply outdated and out of place. So in most instances, you find people when they are giving you an address, they always mention the landmark. Something that stands out in that community, in that environment, which they use as a landmark to guide you. Okay, a landmark could be maybe at the corner, there could be a filling station, a church, a mosque, an antenna or something that stands you out. For our address in Utako, we always use the Tana filling station as our own closest landmark here, despite the fact that the street is well named and then numbered. Okay, so you give us the closest landmark to your residence. Then date of birth, you give us a date of birth, state of origin, phone number, your email, and then importantly also your BVN. And then mode of identification. We have several types of modes of identification in the country. We have the international passport, you have your national ID, you have your driver's license, you have your voter's card. All these are modes of identification in the country. And then each of these modes of identification, of course, has an ID number. So you also let us have the ID number that goes along with that mode of identification. talked about email already. No need for a password for now, because the password I will use in creating the profile, they have their own special way of writing their own password. So we'll leave your password out of it for now. Then educational qualification, name of institution, the name of the institution that you attended, qualification you obtained, course of study, and then date certificate was awarded. All these are important. Business info, you have a registered company, yes or no. If you have a registered company, indicates, and then you give us the name of the company. But even when you don't have the name of a registered company, we still want a name given, okay? You could simply indicate Margaret Ventures or Margaret Farms as an example, whether the company is registered or not. This is a personal loan, so we want the specific name more than anything else to be associated there. The address, we give us the address. If it's an existing company, you'll be able to have an address of that business. And then closest landmark, also we give us the closest landmark. If you don't have a separate address from your home address, you still give us the same home address. State here, that's the state where the business is located. Nationality, that's the nationality of the owners of the business. Type of business, what type of business are we looking at? And then the business sector. Let's scroll forward so that we look at the various type of businesses that we have under consideration. Yeah, okay, you find in this page here, we have different types of business activities. These include things like poultry, things like fisheries, tailoring, furniture making, printing, catering services, hairdressing, bakery, organic cream making, ICT, animal husbandry, carpentry, for example, masonry, cable and electric pole making, block making, welding and fabrication, agric and agro-allied processing. All these are business activities. And then the sector, of course, include agriculture, fashion and design, ICT, media and publishing, beauty / cosmetic, mining, hospitality, cosmetics, beauty, makeup artistry, cottage industry. So if your business activity, for example, is poultry and fishery, then of course it falls into agriculture. If it's tailoring, of course it falls under fashion and design, furniture making, all those ones come under cottage industry. You have catering services, those ones come under hospitality, hairdressing, organic cream making, those ones fall under beauty and cosmetics, or beauty and makeup artistry. So that's how we differentiate between a business activity and then the business sector. So let's go back to our form. So that explains the type of business and then the business sector. Then stage of business. What stage is your business? Is it a startup or existing? And then year of operation. A startup business is one in which you just have the idea, the concept. Nothing has started with respect to the business, but you just intend to go into that line of business. Okay, that's a startup. Existing is one that is already in existence, no matter the level, whether at preliminary or rudimentary level, it's already an existing business. If, for example, you are into tailoring and you have just a few sewing machines in your sitting room, which you sew things for your friends, relations, and colleagues and partners with just one sewing machine or something like that, that's already an existing business. What you intend to do is expansion. So it's an existing business that you intend to seek the loan facility to expand. It's of operation. 1 year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years in operation, will give us an idea. Then business vision, mission, and business objectives. Okay, I'm sure we're all familiar with vision statements, mission statements, and objectives and the like. Okay, most instances when we get the brochure of some organization, we see on the very first page is the vision of that organization. And then, of course, secondly, the mission, and then third, the objective, the business objective. So what does this represent? The vision of any organization, any business, is the larger picture of what that organization or what that business intends to accomplish. Okay, what does it intend to accomplish? What's the larger picture of that business? Okay, so when you say, let's take the example of somebody who wants to go into poultry farming, for example, and you say the business vision, the vision of that poultry farm is to be the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. That is your vision. That's to say that in the next 10 years, your vision is to be the largest mechanized, highly mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. That is your vision. Okay, and then what of the mission, of course, is how you intend to achieve that vision. Okay, the steps to take, the activities that you line up to be able to accomplish the vision of that organization. So your mission could be to use the instruments of technology for the to build the largest mechanized poultry farm in the FCT. Okay, so we are using the instrumentalities of technology to build the largest mechanized poultry farm in the country, so in FCT. So that is your mission, okay, how you attain that vision. Then objective, of course, the objective of any poultry farm is the production of eggs and then and poultry meat or birds. Okay, so we stated that one clearly, to be the largest producers and suppliers of eggs, poultry eggs in the FCT. Simple as that. So that's how you differentiate between your mission, your vision, and then the business objective. Do you belong to a cooperative society? Yes or no? If yes, indicate. Like I said during the very first lecture we had the other day when we were talking about various types of loans, I did indicate then that cooperative society is one of the most popular institutions we find in most organizations in the country. People come together in cooperative societies where they put money together for achieving the purpose of members of that cooperative society. So it could, if you belong to a cooperative society, you have to indicate what that cooperative society, whether yes or no. And if yes, you give us the name of that cooperative society. All right, details of business ownership. Details of business ownership. Yeah, it's we have different types of business ownership. We have the sole proprietorship, and then of course registered business, and then business name, which is the same as business sole proprietorship. In sole proprietorship, you are the sole owner, you are the single owner of that company. So it's the shareholding is 100% shares is in your individual, in your person as an individual. So if you use the example of Margaret Ventures, for example, Margaret Ventures is the sole proprietorship, then 100% of the shares are in Margaret's name. But where it's a registered company, it's registered as Margaret Ventures Nigeria Limited, which means there are other shareholders, there are other owners, part owners of that company. And then, of course, you'll be able to now indicate the share ownership structure. So Margaret could have like 50%, and the other shareholders could have other 25 or 30%, and then whichever way that the shares are shared out to the other members. So that's how you attend to the business ownership structure. Then details of staff. In each business that we do, no matter how small it is, most instances we are not the only people involved in that business. You definitely have other support staff who work with you, who support you. If you're running a poultry farm, of course, you have maybe the poultry manager, you have the sales officer, the laborers who work on the farm, who do the feeding, do the cleaning, and all of that. You have the delivery van, then of course you have a driver who drives the delivery van and then makes all the deliveries in the markets and the points of sales. So you indicate their names and then their areas of responsibility for each one, there's an area of responsibility. The farm manager, of course, manages the entire farm. The sales clerk handles all issues of sales of eggs and birds. The delivery van driver, of course, delivers the produce and services of that farm. So that's how you differentiate and indicate all of that. It's important that you give us the names of their staff and then their responsibilities. Marketing, type of product. If you're in a poultry farm, the type of product is eggs and birds, that live birds or dressed birds or processed chicken. Cost of production and services. Well, when you are looking at the cost of production of any item, you are looking at the totality of the expenses that go into producing one item. Okay, if you are looking at, let's use a poultry farm as an example again. The cost of production in the poultry farm, of course, is the totality of expenses that go into the supply of feeds, the purchase of the birds, the day-old chicks, either in layers or broilers, the cost of feeds, which goes into feeding these animals, water, and then of course the salaries and all of those that goes into it. Okay, by the time you do the compute all these various ingredients, then you come to the cost of production. Okay, and then the price. So at the end of the day, say maybe you spend like 800 naira per day for the production of 1 crate of egg. So that's the cost of production of 1 crate of egg, okay, or 1,200 for the production of 1 live bird. That's from the point of day 1 to its maturity after 3 months or thereabout. That is what you spend on a day-to-day basis for just one of these items, one of these birds. Okay, selling price, how much you sell the products. So if you are producing at 800 naira, maybe your selling price is 850 naira, so that you have a margin of 50 naira on top of it. Okay, and then the location of the customer, location of the business, the FCT location of the customer, also in FCT. That means you are targeting the over 8-10 million people in the FCT as your target market, right? Okay. SWOT analysis. Yesterday we had the training of feasibility studies and business plan, and I believe my colleague Mr. Omanchi discussed the area of SWOT analysis with you, because it's a very important component of feasibility studies. You have to do a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is what you do before you go into any line of business. You are looking at this at the strengths. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Anything that you do in life, any line of business you want to go into in life, you have to assess your strengths. What are your strengths? What are those areas that gives you advantage? What are those things that have added advantage more than somebody else who is in the same line of business? So these are the kind of things you're looking at. And then of course, weaknesses. You don't only just have strengths. For any area of strength, there are also areas of weaknesses. You are bound to find that you have certain weaknesses. Okay, opportunities. Opportunities are these things that we find within the environment, within the community, which are door openers for us, which are available, which we identify and explore for the purpose of our own goals. And then threats. Threats are also within the same community. These are things that threaten our activity, threaten the business that we are trying to carry out. Okay, so strength and weaknesses are normally internal. They are internal factors to the business, to us. Okay, within the business, these are things that are internal. Our strengths are internal, our weaknesses are internal. And then opportunities and threats are, of course, external. They are external to the environment. Those are things that are existing within the environment, within the community, which are beyond our powers, but which we try to tame for our own purpose. Okay, so those are external. But we have internal and then we have external factors which impact on our businesses and enterprises, and how we are able to achieve the goals we've set out for ourselves. All right, so let's give an example of do a SWOT analysis. Let's use the poultry farm as an example, and let's see how we do a SWOT analysis of a poultry farm, for example. All right. Say, starting with strengths, what could be their strength if you are going into a poultry farm? What are those areas? What are those things that you look out for, that you see as your areas of strength? First, you could have highly qualified and dedicated staff. Okay, where you have highly qualified and dedicated staff, these are areas of strength, right? Areas of strength to you. Okay, areas of strength which will be of advantage to you. Okay, you have excellent marketing and managerial skills. So previously, maybe you have worked, you have your background in agriculture, and then of course you have worked severally in a poultry farm. So you have within the years garnered the experience, acquired the relevant experience, relevant marketing and then managerial skills for managing a poultry farm. So these are areas of strength. This is an area of strength for you and some on your staff. Okay, and then you have strong technical know-how of the business because you've been along in that line of business for some time, and so you have developed this excellent managerial. You've developed this strong technical know-how of the business. You know how to handle all the technical component aspects of the business, and these are things that you are able to handle with so much ease. Okay, what are the weaknesses? What are your areas of weaknesses? Your areas of weaknesses could be in area of poor distribution network. Okay, you are just coming into this line of business maybe, and then of course you don't have the resources here, and then of course you don't have the delivery van to be able to deliver your produce. So this could be a challenge for you. Poor distribution network could be a weakness for you at this point in time. Okay, and then insufficient funds for expansion, and that's why you want to take this facility. You don't have enough funds here to be able to run this business. So you find that you are in need of funds, and that's why you're applying for this loan facility to be able to expand the business, to be able to buy maybe a delivery van, to expand your expansion, to expand your distribution network. And then, of course, maybe because you are just coming in, there are other brands who have been around for quite some time. So your own brand is not as popular as the existing ones. Here, you are just trying to carve yourself a niche for yourself within that line of business. So your brand may be a little bit unpopular at this point in time. And these are areas that you are looking at seeing how you can improve on that areas. Okay, opportunities. Okay, let's look at opportunities. Now, remember, we say opportunities are external factors. Okay, so within the country, for example, you have favorable government policy on agriculture. Okay, government has a very, very favorable policy now that favors people who are into poultry farming. One, because it has banned the importation of poultry products and products and feeds. Okay, so all poultry products now are from the birds to eggs. Importation are banned. So which means the vast market that we have in Nigeria is open to those who will be able to cash in that gaping opportunity that has been created. There is a vacuum now. There's a large gap now to be filled through through many people coming into poultry farming. So favorable government policy is an opportunity. The already existing market, we already have an existing market already. The market that has been occupied by those who are involved in importation. We know the number, we know the quantity of poultry products we were importing in this country before, and everything of it is consumed. So with the ban on importation of poultry produce now, then the market already exists. The appetite of people has been whetted, and of course it cannot be quenched overnight. Somebody has to fill in that gap to continue to satisfy, to meet that large appetite that is already existing. So with that already existing market, then of course you have the opportunity to be one of the key players to fill in that open and wide gap. And then all year demand for the products. We have an all year demand for poultry products in the country today. Okay, because poultry meat, of course, is something that Nigerians eat a lot of. And then, of course, recently there are a whole lot of talks about medical issues like cholesterol and things like that. So government has always been advising people to eat more white meats than red meats, okay, because of issues that we have with cholesterol, with gout, and all of that. So meat like white meat, which is covered by chicken and fish, are the most popular type of meat that we have today. So there's already an all-year demand for that line of business. So just a minute. All right, so the opportunities are abound because of the all-year demand for the products. So that's a major opportunity also there. Then, of course, we have threats. And what are these threats? Threats in the area of stiff competition. There are so many people who are going into poultry farming today. The opportunities, because of the vast opportunity, very favorable government policy, all year round market. So more and more people are going into poultry farming today. Okay, so with that kind of stiff competition, it means that if you want to go into poultry farming, you should be ready for the competition that is existing within that market. Then, of course, we have issues of the other threats include the issues of thefts and insecurity. We know the kind of experience we have in the country today. There's a lot of threat, a lot of security threats all over the place. Today, bandits, kidnappers have taken over our fields. People are scared of going to their farms, okay, because of threats of kidnapping. Okay, most of the cattle rustlers have invaded most of the ranches and then the farms that we have. The same also happening with poultry farms. They've gone into people's farms, poultry farms, and cattered away their beds and eggs and all of that. So most people are scared of going into the farms today. So that is a major challenge that most people in that line of business are facing today. Then, of course, we have the issue of disease prevalence. We're all aware of the issues of avian flu, bird flu, which afflicts the poultry farms. Day-old chicks are most vulnerable because they are very, very prone to disease attacks by all of these kind of flus, which are threatening the poultry industry. So all these are the kind of threats that we have in the poultry business today. And this analysis we can do for almost any line of business that we have under consideration. If it's tailoring, that's basically the same kind of analysis, basically the same kind of analysis. If you're going to catering, you can do basically the same kind of analysis in terms of the strengths, which is internal, the weaknesses, which is also internal, the opportunities are outside there, and these opportunities are a function of things like government policies and, of course, threats all over the place, competition, because many more people are going to actually the same line of business. So all of these things are how you do your SWOT analysis. Whatever line of business you intend to go into, you can use this template that I've just discussed now to be able to do that analysis as conveniently as possible. All right, so let's look at business competition. Name of competitor. If you are going into any line of business, I'm sure you'll be familiar with those who are already into it. But because before you even go into, you want to have a look at those who are already in that line of business to see what kind of things, how they are running the business. So you of course know a couple of them. But even when you don't know the name of a competitor, at least you can indicate that the anybody in poultry farming, for example, is a competitor, or anybody who is into fashion and design, which is maybe an area you want to go into, is a competitor. Then the type of product, what kind of products are they producing? Of course, basically the same type of product that you also want to go into and produce. If it's poultry, of course, it's eggs and then beds and live beds or processed beds. These are the type of businesses. Location of competitor. The location, of course, could be within the same kind of environment as yourself. Okay, if you're in FCT, of course, competitors will be those who are based in FCT. If you're in Buari or Kuba or one of those places, they will basically be the people in that kind of same location as yourself. What is your competitor's cost of a product or service? Of course, you'll be able to find out how much they're able to produce their own, because you want to also price yourself within that range. You know, you want to outprice yourself, outprice yourself in terms of the cost. Okay, so there's every likelihood that you also want to price your own product within that given amount of money. Okay, so if your competitor is selling at maybe 900 naira a crate, you want to sell at 850 or 800, so as to remain to be competitive. What you're looking at is the turnover, not necessarily profit overnight. So what makes your products different or unique from other competitors? If you are into other kind of produce without a mono this unique, the same type of this thing, like when you're in poultry farming, for example, poultry products can be more than eggs and chicken. Of course, there's nothing different in your own case or makes your own unique. Chicken egg is chicken egg. You can't differentiate which one comes from which farm and which one comes from the nest. But if you are into fashion design, for example, of course, there is something that makes your own, because your own design definitely will be different from what your next person does. What attracts individuals to any tailor is the kind of designs that he has, the kind of styles that he has, and things like that. So you'll be able to indicate and then make that differentiation in that regard, but not when it comes to farm produce like chicken or crop farm and the rest of those things. All right, company assets. What are the company assets? Company assets, if you're already an existing business, of course, you have machineries, you have equipment, you have maybe vehicles and things like that. Those are things that you could highlight. Okay, if you have an existing poultry farm, then of course you have things like the chicken pens, you have maybe delivery vans, you have maybe a borehole and generator and things like that. But even when you don't have one, you don't have your existing business, all right, but you don't have any major assets like that. Your own personal assets like your cars and things like that could be written out there as company assets, because remember, as I said, the loan is personal to you. So whatever belongs to you belongs as it were to that line of business. Okay, cash at hand, bank, where we leave those information out for now. Monthly expenses. Here we're looking at items like rent, administrative costs, salaries, utilities, raw materials, and others. So how do you determine the monthly expenses? For salaries, for example, well, we know in this country we pay our rent on a yearly basis. Okay, most places that you go, your landlord will ask you to pay 1 year rent or 2 years rent. Okay, to get the monthly equivalent, you just divide by 12 to get the monthly equivalent. So if on a yearly basis you pay 500,000, all you need to do is divide by 12, and then it gives you an idea of what the monthly rent is all about. Same also with what you do with administrative costs. These are things like that you use in your office setup. For example, if you have an office or you have a shop, the things that you use on a day-to-day basis, those constitute your administrative costs. Your papers, your ink, your biros, your stationaries that you use, all these items that fall under administrative costs. So all you do is compute the amount, divide by 12 again to give you that idea. Salaries also, we know how much we pay our workers monthly. If you have up to 5 staff, for example, and monthly yearly salary is 500,000, you divide that by 12 by the number of staff to give you an idea of your monthly salary. Some also you do for utilities and raw materials down the line. Okay, loan requirement. So loan requirement, we're looking at the loan amount and then the loan tenure. Somebody asked a question in the first class with respect to startups and then existing business. And the question was, he believes that the amounts that is available that can be approved for startup will be different from that for existing. Yes, of course it will be. the bank has fixed it in such a way that if you are a startup, you are just starting a business, the total amount of money that, the maximum amount of money you can access is 5 million naira. But if you are an existing business, you can be able to access up to 10 million naira. So that's where the difference is. So for the loan amount, if you're a startup, you indicate, and you want the highest amount, you indicate 5 million naira. If you're existing and you want the maximum amount, you indicate 10 million naira. Okay, so loan tenure, of course, as usual, is 7 years. There's 1 year moratorium and 7 years tenure. If you want to pay earlier, of course, nothing stops you. You can bring your tenure down to 5 years. So if you want any existing loan, yeah, if you have an existing loan, you indicate yes or no. If it's yes, when is it likely to expire? And then you give us the name of the financial institution. Why we're asking that is the government doesn't normally, banks don't normally want people to be overburdened with many loan facilities. There's what they talk about financial distress and financial embarrassment. They want it in such a way that if you are a salary earner, for example, by the time you've taken all loans, your salary should be less than 33% of your basic take-home pay. Okay, so that at least you'll be able to sustain yourself within that period. Okay, loan utilization. Yeah, okay, we'll be looking at the loan utilization section in the next form more comprehensively. But here, the items are listed again, just like in the previous section of monthly expenses. Looking at the rent here, and looking at administrative costs also, utilities, machineries and equipment, raw materials and others. So here you are giving us the total amount in terms of per annum. So your rent, for example, is not monthly anymore, but how much per annum? So if your rent is 500,000 per annum, you indicate that. Administrative costs, you also look computing the total amount for the year. As utilities also giving us that same total amount utilities requirement for that year and down the line. So that's how you compute the loan utilization. Right. Then the last section is referees. It's very important that you give us the names of 2 referees, their phone numbers and addresses. That is critical because the bank, while they are not guarantors, but at least they are character referees. And it's important that these ones are provided for us so that we'll be able to at least, if there's any default or anybody needs to speak up for you, should be able to have some people speak up for you in that respect. All right, so we've come to the end of this particular form. We'll be looking at the next one subsequently, but before we do so, I will open the class so that in case members have any question they want to ask, then they can ask the question before we proceed to the next form. Right, so we'll open the class now. If you have any question, please feel free to ask a question before we proceed.
Good day, sir.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
This is David, sir.
David, yeah, good to see you.
Yes, sir. So my question is simply for the form, especially the later part, the loan tenure, utilities and co. Can we go to the office, like for example, I'm in Gogolada. Can I go to the branch office in Gogolada for appropriate filling of the form, should in case I am not still cleared later on with one part or the other?
Yeah, like I said, this particular form here, we designed that one, and it's for our own purpose. Our own purpose in the sense that we use the materials we generate from that form to help you develop the business plan. Okay, the next form that we'll be looking at, that one was produced by the bank or a partner of the bank, the Simplified Credit. They're the ones that developed that form. So that's the one that we use for the loan application in particular. But yeah, in Gogolada, we have a contact point, a contact office in Gogolada there. You can go there and we'll have a clerk there who will be able to help you, assist you in completing the form if you have any problems there. Not necessarily the NISA Microfinance Bank office itself, but our own Sidron Nigeria Limited office in Gwagwalada. That's where we'll be able to help you in how to complete the forms. Okay? You understand me?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay, thanks. All right, any other question? Margaret, Egba. Egba, you have a question? Margaret, you have a question? Techno 703. I thought this class was bigger earlier. We're back to 4 now. Any question or we continue? All right, so we'll continue. If there are no questions. All right, so we'll continue with the class. All right, so how to complete the loan application form and creation of profile on the loan application portal. There are 2 loan application form templates on the NISA portal. Okay, one of it is owned by NISA Bank itself. Okay, but from our understanding, that is a little bit complex. So there is a second one, it's a second template by Simplified Credit. This is an IT company which is in partnership with NISA, and we encourage our clients to use that one. Is the copy that we'll be looking at, is the copy that we normally also send out to our clients. So that's what we'll be looking at now, so that we'll be able to explain how you complete that section, that form. The loan form is divided into 4 sections like the previous one. This one is also divided into 4 sections. First, the personal details, then the business details, then the loan utilization details, and then the training details. Every section is important, and you're expected to complete the form in capital letters. Okay, so this you can see on the screen now. This is the Agri's loan application form. So this is how the form looks like. Okay, most instances we send the photocopied copies, but there are times most of the ones that we send online to members comes out in these color codes. Okay, so let's look at this form closely now and then try to break it down for members. The first section, they're divided into 4 sections. The first one is personal details. Then the second one, business details, then loan utilization and training. So we'll go through it section by section. Let's see how it goes. All right, first, name of applicant. Name of applicant, you give us a full names, and then the gender, male and female. Home address, as in the previous one also. State of origin, state of residence, state of origin and state of residence, and then age bracket. State of origin and state of residence could be different here. Could be from Kaduna State and resident in Kano State, or it could be from Kaduna and then resident in Kaduna State. That's what it simply means. Your phone number, then the email address, then name of bank. Yeah, that's your own personal account now, and then the bank account number. Then importantly, your BVN. BVN is what sounds more like your collateral here, because with the BVN, of course, if there is a default, the bank will be able to trace you so long as you continue to have banking relationship in the country. Okay, and then of course the banks have what they call the GSI support these days, where if you default a bank after taking a facility from there and then you move on to another place without servicing your account, servicing the debts in your account, the bank has the authority to follow you to the next bank where you now have banking relationship to try and recoup its money. So that's the importance of having the BVN. Well, it has nothing to do with breaching your account or anybody trying to hack into your Then business details, name of business enterprise. You have a registered company, you give us. If you don't, you still go ahead to give us the name of any business registered. The way you want to concoct it, the way you want to register it, whether it's registered or not, you indicate. So if you have you don't have a registered company, but we insist that you give us this, you can simply say David Oluseyi Ventures or Oluseyi Farms or something like that, okay? Or you have to give us a business name. Business address, if you're existing business, at least the business should be operating from the site, so you give us the business address. Company bank account number, if any. Here we advise people to always leave that one open for now. When you are invited for the interview, the bank on opening the account will give you an account number. So that's the one we expect you to complete on this form. Okay, and then the name of the bank, that would be NISA Microfinance Bank, of course. Type of business activity, we have already looked at the various type of business activities, and then their sector. So you write out line of business. Is it poultry? You write. Is it fishery? You write. Then the sector is agri, is dressmaking. The sector will be fashion and design down the line. So that's how you complete that section. Is it a startup? Yes or no? If it's a startup, you indicate that it's a startup. If it's not, you say no. Then number of years of operation, you give us the number of years of operation if it's an existing business, okay? Loan utilization, the loan amount, how much is that? Here, well, we don't expect you to complete this one until you complete these two other sections. The loan utilization section is the most important part of this form because this is the basis on which your loan request will be assessed and then the amounts given to you. So you'll be expected to make a proposal in this section, submit, complete it as appropriately as possible, and then so that we'll be able to have the total loan amount you want. By the time you finish completing these two sessions and required equipment and working capital, that's when we'll be able to know the loan amount required. Then the purpose of the loan. If it's a startup, then the purpose of the loan is to start a business. If it's already an existing business, then of course it's for expansion. Then the loan tenure, as I said, is 7 years loan tenure. It could be earlier, depending on how long you want the loan. So to complete this section, let's go into some write-ups on further pages, so I'll be able to explain these two sections. You can see the subsections in red. It says provide details of required equipment. That's type, model of the equipment that you want. You are using the example of fashion, for example. There is e.g. industrial sewing machine model, these are that. Okay, so that's we'll look at in more details. Provide details of required equipment, provide details of working capital. So let's go a little bit forward so that we look at that. Okay, so loan utilization, like I said, it's the most critical part of that form. So we'll go through it carefully so that we'll get a better understanding. So here, this is where we need to pay close attention. We're saying it, we need to pay close attention here. The bank wants to know exactly how you intend to use their money. The bank wants to know exactly how you intend to use their money. Okay, you'll be expected to make a proposal here. For instance, I want to use the money for ABC. Issa, can you mute him? Okay. So you indicate I want to use the money for ABCD or XYZ for such and such an amount. Okay, so the session is divided into two. It asks you to provide details of required working equipment and details of working capital. Details of required equipment and details of working capital. If the funding, in the funding model, the bank will finance the assets, that's the equipment, and they give you the working capital. The bank, of course, is smart enough to know that most loan applicants will want to hide the bulk of the money in the working capital because they know we all want the raw cash. To check this trend, they came up with a golden rule that your equipment lease should not be less than 70% of your total loan amount, while the working capital should be 30%. So what we're saying basically here is that for the required equipment, okay, the bank wants 70%. So if you are applying for 10 million, for example, 7 million should go into the required equipment. The bank actually wants you to go into that business. So it wants to make sure that, look, you have you are able to buy the equipment. So for this purpose, it's going to link you up with a vendor. The vendor, you and the vendor will sit down and you discuss your required equipment, and then vendor will go with you and then pay for those equipment from the suppliers or manufacturers or makers of that equipment, because the bank wants you to really acquire those equipment, and then of course to be able to make sure that you set up the business to operate the business. And then the working capital, the bank will going to support you up to 30%. So which means if you are taking 10 million, 3 million will go for the working capital. That is how the bank structured the loan. So the bank is not going to give you the entire 10 million naira to go and do what you want to do with it. When they started the process, they were doing that, but we found that most people are simply diverting the money. So as it is now, nobody is going to give you the entire 10 million. You will be expected to dedicate 7 million to the business, and then for the equipment, sorry, and then 3 million for the working capital. So let's do some quick example here. Let's take an example from agriculture sector, and then the second one from SME, so that we see how the loan utilization is distributed. So we'll be using the poultry business since. So let's use poultry business again as an example. A typical business poultry farmer may require the following: one, lease of land for 1.2 million, construction of pens 1 million, battery cage 800,000, borehole 600,000, generator 400,000, egg crates 100,000, then delivery van 1.5 million. And then maybe if you want to go into processed chicken, dressed chicken, then of course you have a deep freezer. So that is what you set aside for the equipment required, and this is how you outline it. Okay. Then let's now look at the working capital. The working capital, that's the money that you use on your day-to-day basis, spending on your staff, and then on the raw materials, and then the administrative costs. So for working capital for the poultry farm, for example, these are the items that you'll be looking out for. Staff salaries at 270,000, broilers and layers. These are your raw materials, the day-old chicks, which you buy to nurture for purposes of producing eggs, or for maturity, which you now can sell as live birds or dressed chicken. Okay, so for broiler you set aside another 500,000, layers 500,000. Okay, utilities. Okay, utilities go for things like your electricity bill or your water bill and all of those things, 100,000 naira. And then feeds. Feeds are very, very important and critical in poultry farms, because these are what you use in feeding the birds on a day-to-day basis, 1.530 million. Okay, when you sum up everything, it should give you the total loan amount that you require. So let's go back to our form again. Okay, so that is what the form looks like. The working capital, the required equipment, which I highlighted earlier for the poultry farm. Here you are looking at lease of land, construction of pens, battery cages, borehole, generator, egg crates, and then a delivery van. Okay, and then the amounts against them: 1.2 million, 1 million, 800,000, 600,000, 400,000. And then 100,000, and then 1.530 million. And then the working capital, of course, that one is in the area of salaries, broilers, layers, and utilities and feeds. Okay, with the amount also against them. So that is how you complete those two sections. Which under loan utilization. Then source of repayment. The third item here, the other item here. Is here a source of repayment. Okay, proceeds of the business, profit from the business, that is the source of payment. Not from your salary. It's not a salary loan. It's for business. So it's as you run the business, that is where you are expected to be able to pay the loan from. Okay, source of repayment. All right. So let's go back to our write-up and look at some other issues which we need to discuss here. Okay. Right. So okay, now we have looked at an example of the poultry farm. So let's look at an SME. For the SME, we're looking at rice processing business. Okay, rice processing is not agriculture. Rice processing is entirely is an SME. Okay, for rice processing, we need equipment like the stoning machine, rice polishing machine, rice polishing machine. These are the equipment you require for rice processing. Okay, your working capital, on the other hand, will be used for the purchase of paddy rice, pay salaries, utilities, and administrative costs. In rice processing business, also we should also remember to adhere to the 70-30% rule. Okay, it's also important that we adhere to the 70-30% rule. Taking another example again for catering. Catering is also another SME. Here, the equipment you require include things like industrial cooker, like chillers, like deep freezers, like food display units, kitchen utensils, serving plates, furniture, which you also need to break down in your business plan. While your working capital could be rent, could be salaries, foodstuff, fuel. So that is how you also do the breakdown for catering services. So these are 3 examples in agriculture and then 2 from SMEs, okay? So one of the key points that we need to understand is determining what is equipment and then working capital. Okay, we should learn to classify them appropriately, because if we don't classify them appropriately, we might run into problem during time for interview. Okay, right. So another issue in the area of working capital is that the bank does not support working capital for the whole year. Okay, the bank will only fund the working capital for 3 months. Okay, it expects that after 3 months, the business should be able to take over and start taking care of the working expenditure. If you indicate that your staff salary is 450,000 naira, you should be able to explain that for 3 months, that is what you will need to pay 30,000 naira each, and thereafter the business will become self-sustaining. If you're in poultry, for feeds, you indicate 1 million naira for the feeds, and the bag of feeds is 10,000 naira. You should be able to explain how many bags you require for the 3 months period. So that's how we assess that the working capital component. All right, so let's go back to our form again. All right, so the last section now is the training details. The training details. Here, training institution, Sidron Nigeria Limited is a training institution, training identification number. This will be given to you on Saturday when we release our certificates, okay? That's when we issue with the certificates. There's there's a number, there's a code on that certificate. That's what you use as your training identification. Type of training, what we give is entrepreneurship training, okay, and then the duration, of course, is 5 days, okay? Then finally, declaration. Here you'll be expected to declare to the best of your ability that the information you provided is correct. Because if you give wrong information, it could be subject to disqualification. All right, so other subjects we need to complete under the loan form. We have already talked about that. Purpose of the loan, startup or expansion, loan tenure of 7 years, list of equipment, we have discussed that, source of repayment, profit, business profit. Then the training details, we've just talked about that. Training institution is Sidron Nigeria Limited-EDI. Training ID, a certificate number, it will be issued to you when you graduate on Saturday. Type of training, entrepreneurship training program, and then the duration, of course, is 5 days, okay? Then, of course, the declaration, where you be expected to write your name and declare that the information you are providing is to the best of your knowledge correct, and you could be disqualified if the information is found to be false, okay? Then finally, we'll look at the third form here. These forms are normally given to participants when they go for the interview, for the pre-interview and pre-approval interview. Okay, please mute this. I don't know why it keeps on muting. Okay, so this we only got this template recently. And we thought it's important to discuss it with our members before they go for the interview. In any case, we were in the bank yesterday and we were informed that The form of interview they have now, as from next year, will cease. Now you'll be interviewed online. You'll be given a set of forms to complete online. And it's on the basis of how you complete that form that you'll be assessed whether you are qualified to receive the loan or not. So the way we go, people go to the bank for interview now, that model, that format will cease. Okay, but before it does, let's put you through the forms which you are expected to complete. The form which you just, the admits loan application form is one of those forms that you'll be given again to complete. And this particular one, the template you see on the screen here now, okay, that is the second form you'll be expected to complete. It's also as straightforward as the previous ones, but let me just explain one or two things that might need some clarification here. Straightforward, it simply asks for your telephone number, state of origin, and LG. Okay, it's called a National Microfinance Bank pre-approval interview and assessment template for AGNI's loan. That is the name of the form. That is the name of the form which you are completing. Then first one, name of beneficiary, your response, you give your name, age of beneficiary, home address, name of business, business address if different from home address, then the National Microfinance Bank account number if available. So it's when you are doing this interview that they are supposed to open the account number and give to you. BVN as stated in the form, so the same BVN which you completed in the previous form, that's what you are supposed to provide. EDI, where the applicant trained, Sidon Nigeria Limited is here. EDI, duration of training is 5 days. Business sector, business subsector. Of course, we have looked at all of those previously. Could be agriculture, fashion and design, ICT, media, cream, cosmetics and beauty, makeup, all these business sectors. Business, you have you have things like poultry, you have things like fishery, you have things like animal husbandry, rice processing, catering, tailoring. All of those are the subsector. That's the business activity. Is your business a startup or existing? Explain that. If it's a startup, you indicate it's a startup. If it's existing, you indicate. If existing, please state. Here is where you'll be required to do some little ingenuity. If it's an existing business, which means you have been running the business already, so you'll be expected to indicate their monthly sales. Okay, if you're in poultry, for example, and you're already in existing, okay, your monthly sales, for example, how much do you sell? How much quantity of eggs do you sell on a monthly basis? You sell up to 10 crates, 10 crates of poultry. Okay, let's say you sell at 800 naira per crate and you sell up to 10 crates. How much is that? So you indicate. Then the total expenses, how much do you spend for you to be able to make those monthly sales? That's the total amount of money that you put, the expenses you incur in terms of the fees, in terms of the rent you pay, in terms of the salaries and all of those things that go into your monthly expenses. Okay, where your monthly sales is higher than your expenses, then of course you are making profit, so you have gross profit. But where your monthly expenses is higher than your monthly sales, that means you are selling at a deficit, so you don't have any profit there. It's going to be minus whatever it is that you have there. So it's deficit sales that you are making. So that's how you explain that section there. Okay, have you conducted market survey to understand the market for the type of business? Okay, when you did your feasibility studies yesterday, that issue definitely came up, how to conduct market survey, the things that you need to look at, whether that business will be viable, because that's what anybody who wants to go into business will do. Will the business be viable? Will I have the market? Will it be able to be sustainable? So have you conducted the business survey? Have you done your feasibility studies? If you have done so, you indicate so, okay? Then do you have off-takers? Do you have off-takers for your products or produce? If yes, stay so. Here by off-takers, it means like if you are into any productive activities, do you have people who come to buy the whole thing off you? Okay, Do you have to take them to the market, or do people come to your workshop or your farm to buy off everything? Okay, off-takers are very common in people who are involved with rice production, for example. These days, the rice millers have formed them into cartels, into groups. So they provide them with most of the seedling, the implements, the fertilizers, and all of those things to help them with the cultivation. By the time they harvest, by the time it's come time for harvest, when the harvesting is done, the mill owners come and buy off the whole thing off the farmers. That is off-takers. Those are the off-takers. Okay, if you are into, say, let's say, onion production, for example, we produce up to 30 bags in a season. By the time you finish the harvesting, somebody comes to the farm. You don't have to take it to the market and buys everything off. That is what an off-taker is all about. So do you have off-takers or for your produce, or do you take them to the market yourself? Okay, are you aware of any possible risk that your business may encounter? If yes, provide details. We just did discuss SWOT analysis now. Risk are the same as threats. Okay, if you are doing a SWOT analysis, for example, for poultry business, part of the risk, of course, involves stiff competition, includes theft and insecurity, and then, of course, disease prevalence. All these are risk factors. Okay, so these are the things that, are you aware of them? Are you aware that they exist? If you are, then provide the details. If yes, if they are aware, how will you mitigate it? That's how will you prevent it, or how will you suppress that risk factors? Are you going to provide a security man to guide the place against theft and that? Are you going to have doctors on ground to be able to provide needed vet medical attention to the vets at any given point in time? All those are mitigatory factors, mitigatory actions that you need to take. Okay. Purpose of the loan. What is the loan for? Is it to start up a new business or expand an existing business? Okay. So here again, start up and existing factors come in. If it's to start a business, then you say startup. If it's for already an existing business, then it's expansion. Okay. How long do you want the loan? Okay, we say the tenure is normally 7 years, but if you want it shorter period, you indicate. What is the grace period? Is there a moratorium for your proposed loan? This is business specific and might vary. Of course, we did say that there's a moratorium of 1 year, but for some other line of businesses, for example, it might be longer. If you want to go into farm plantation, things like palm trees take up to a year, 2-3 years before they begin to mature and produce. So for that line of business, there might be much longer period of moratorium. So that's why they say it's business specific. So it might vary. But if not, for all others, it's between 1 year to 18 months moratorium. Okay. List and costs of each required equipment. And we'll just discuss the equipment requirement. Now we just gave an example of poultry. We're looking at pens. Sorry. All right. So we've just looked at the giving example of list of equipment for poultry now. So basically, that's what you'll be expected to list out here. Okay. Looking at chicken pens, we're looking at list of line, delivery van, generators, borehole, and things like that. Then the working capital, of course, we've also looked at that, looking at staff salaries. We're looking at the cost of beds, that's broilers, layers, utilities, and then rents. All those are the working capital you require. All right, so items 24, 25, and 26, that is for the bank's own purpose. So after you answer all those questions, they will now use 24, 25 to do the assessment and then do the recommendation. So that's how this form is structured. Then you will now see the name and signature of interviewer, the branch, and then the date of the interview. So that is for this this form. Okay. All right. So we have come to the end of this paper. I want to thank you immensely for sharing your day with us. So we'll open the floor now. If there are any questions, we'll take any questions that you have. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll open the floor now. You have any question, please feel free to ask your question. Let's clear so that we can let you go for the day. It's been a lengthy day, it's been a very long day, so that we close for the day. All right. Let's open the floor. All right. 4 people are here. Isa Abdul Wahab, Oluseyi, any question? Eba Emmanuel.
Thank you very much,
You're
sir,
welcome.
for the lecture. So I just want to know how long will it take, sir, from the end of this training to interview to disbursement, so that in case we are doing other little things, we could tidy up and get prepared to fully dive in and be able to pay as at when due.
All right. Well, the way this whole thing is structured, the training is 5 days. We're ending tomorrow. And if we're doing a business plan for you, we expect that by tomorrow up till Monday, you will have completed the loan application forms and then the questionnaire, and then return to us so that we will now send it to our business plan team. They will now work on the business plan. The business plan will take like 1 week to complete. And when we do that, we'll upload it on the NASA portal. The bank will take maybe another week or 2 to do their assessment, depending on the number of people whose business plans they are. Over 150 EDIs, and all of them are training people at different points, at different locations, and different dates. So all of those things, by the time we upload all of these materials on their portal, it will be left for them to now go through and assess, and then invite those they want to invite for the interview. And by their own time frame, after interview, 6 to 8 weeks is when they'll be able to disburse the funds. So that's how the whole thing is structured. Okay. Is that all right, David?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank you, too. Any other question? Abdul Wahab? Isa Abdul Wahab? Been seeing you on and off. You have any question? Can mute your mic and ask your question. Egba Emmanuel Ambrose. Egba Emmanuel, you have a question? Egba Emmanuel. All right, no question. Techno 703. All right. Okay, so if there are no questions, let me thank you guys immensely for sharing your day with us, for your patience, being here up to this moment, taking 2 papers at a stretch. We'll reconvene again tomorrow, Friday, for the final paper, and then before we all disengage with ourselves. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful day ahead of you.